Hello, Mrs. McCartney. How are you?
Hello, how do you do?
Fine, thank you. More guitar.
I always was a lover of music. Whenever I liked people's music, I ended up taking great pictures of them. Look like a woman. It was sort of my fate. Totally changed my life. Dress like a lady.
In the early 60s, it was the music and the groups that made that music. She was just like the rest of us. We were all just infatuated with this thing that was happening, that suddenly, for the first time in our lives, we were kind of important.
How old were you then?
What are you finding so amusing? This is your father's history here. Listen up, kid.
Linda was asked during a telephone interview where she'd first met Paul.
I met Paul at a club in London. The Bag of Nails, to be exact.
I met your mum in May '67 in a club in London called the Bag of Nails.
Some other people had walked in and they sat not next to our table, but the one beyond it. And Paul of the Beatles was with that group.
And the band was Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames.
They were really hot. It was fabulous.
I looked over and I saw her. Thought, well, she looks good.
Our eyes met and it was one of them. We kept looking at each other.
So I thought, right, here goes nothing. I stood up
He sort of mingled over my way and started talking.
and sort of said, oh, hi, hello there, my name's Paul. What's yours? You know, she said, oh, Linda.
Did you learn a lot about her that night, that she was a photographer?
Didn't really get too deep into what she was doing. I knew she was a photographer.
I was the Fillmore East staff photographer. So many acts would play there constantly. The Who, Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King. I had no idea I was photographing future icons. It was music and people that I loved. Then I went to England to do a book called Rock and Other Four-Letter Words. When I was in London, I took my portfolio over to where the Beatles had their office, and I said, I'm desperate to photograph the Beatles. A few days later, the assistant said to me, Brian loved your photographs. In fact, he loved them so much that he's having a little press get-together for the release of Sgt. Pepper. You can come to that.
She was one of the only people who got into the launch of Sgt. Pepper. She took a couple of good pictures of the Beatles. You remember that one of me and John doing a big sort of, ha.
Yeah, shaking hands.
Nice picture. I mean, one of the first things I noticed particularly was the way she held the camera. She had a sort of way with these very long, slender fingers.
There's a picture of me looking up at him, and it went out in the wires.
That was the first photo taken of us. American photographer Linda Eastman, seen chatting to Beatle Paul McCartney.
And then after that, I went back to New York. Thought, well, probably never see each other again.
And she just kept, like, coming back to me, and I thought, in my mind, I thought, she was great, she's special, I really like this one, you know, I keep thinking about her. We hooked up in LA. I was out there for some record company thing.
We met at the Beverly Hills Hotel and had a great time. Had a dirty weekend.
There is some sound of Mum sort of saying, oh, and then he phoned me up and we went out for a dirty weekend.
Dirty weekend. She's very honest, see. Somebody said, do you want to come on my yacht? It wasn't exactly a great yachting cruise. He was tacking endlessly in this terrible little canal. You know, oh my God, sorry about this. I brought you on this not very cool cruise. It's okay, it's okay. All your life. We talk about music, photography, art. That was a good thing we had in common. And she had a daughter from her previous marriage who was Heather. We'd always have something to talk about, even if we were tacking endlessly to get out of LA.
And then I got a phone call, and it was Paul saying, why don't you come to England? Hang out for a bit. They were doing the White Album. Just come, just show up. I said, show up? Oh, that's fine. How do I know you'll be there? I said, anyway, I'll think about it.
At a certain age, you start to sort of think, wow, you know, I've got to get serious. I can't just be a playboy all my life.
and off I went to England, and so it all blossomed from that.
I remember she'd always say about the state of the place when she got there.
Yeah, well, it was a bachelor pad.
I arrived at this house, this dark house, a bachelor kind of place. A lot of browns, the TV barely worked, nothing worked.
My fridge, you know, had like half a bottle of sour milk, a little bit of dried cheese, and like nothing much else. And you know, she was like fridge mama.
Yeah,
She was like American fridge. Dun, dun, dun.
Paul came back very early in the morning and played me Happiness is a Warm Gun. That's what they were recording that night that I arrived. The Beatles were obviously going through a bad time.
It was kind of getting near the sort of beginning of the breakup of the Beatles. Yoko was coming down the studio. We didn't really want to say too much to John about it. Risk of offending him and Yoko. We didn't want to say, what's she doing here? But we did in so many words, kind of implied that, which it made things a bit uncomfortable. And when she moved the bed in to the middle of the recording area.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I am serious. Yeah.
You are?
It was like, well, okay, you know, we've got to roll with the punches here. It's just a bed and she's lying down and that's okay.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like a happening, you know.
Yeah.
I wake up to the sound of music. Mother Mary comes to me.
At some point, we were in the studio doing the song Let It Be, and I had an idea for a high harmony. It was a very high note. I was having trouble getting it. So I suddenly thought, you're a girl. You know, can you get that note kind of thing? She said, I'm not a singer, but I said, well, just try it. And she held this note beautifully, you know, which is at the top of the harmonies on the chorus.
Let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom.
See, the thing about the Beatles was, it was this unit, like a square, like a box, and everybody was outside it. Girlfriends, wives, anybody had always traditionally just left us to it to go make our music. And now it was a little bit different, quite a bit different.
I was going through a transition then. He obviously didn't quite know what he was doing, and I didn't quite know what I was doing. But I remember one time we were walking past and he said Buddhist weddings or something. He'll remember.
There was a little sign said, come in and have a Buddhist wedding, get married. And I just said, do you fancy it?
I was so newly not married. I really didn't want to get married again. So I went, no, you know.
No. I think she wanted a little more time to consider it. She'd say things like, let's get out of London. Let's just go and get lost. I said, excuse me? No, I don't. I want a destination and I wanted the route. Just go down this street here. I said, no, I don't know the way. She said, it'll be okay. So I said, I'm really sorry, you know, I'm so sort of tired and everything. I apologize for that. She just turned to me, she said, it's allowed. I remember thinking, yes, I like that. I'd probably take a guitar with me. I remember doing the song, The Two of Us. That was about that, you know, the two of us just heading out for nowhere. Totally free. That was a good feeling. During that period, she did sort of turn to me. She said, you know, I could make you a nice home. And that was like, wow, what a great thing to say. No one had ever said that.
Every day she takes a morning bath, she wets her hair, wraps a towel around her as she's heading for the bedroom chair. It's just another day.
March the 12th, 1969, we went down to the Marylebone Registry Office.
It's just another day.
We said, well, let's try and do it as quietly as possible so that we don't have the press there. Well, you know, when we got there, it was quite quiet.
It's just another day.
So it was a fun little wedding. We kind of giggled our way through it. Do you promise? And Mum was like breaking up.
John and George and Ringo weren't at the wedding.
No. It may have been because of the tensions at the time. It didn't seem important. It was mainly just the two of us wanted to get married quite quietly. But then we came out, wow. I kept sort of shouting back, you know, she's with me.
Get that fuck done.
Why you go crying? Why are you crying?
I'm not sure she was that keen to get married, actually. I had to persuade her. I'd have to say, no, it'll be okay.
When I married Paul, to them I was an American divorcee, I think. This unfashionable woman who married a Beatle.
Paul, what's it feel like to be married at last?
It feels fine, thank you.
What are you going to do now? Is it going to change your life much, do you think?
I don't know, really. I've never been married before.
Mrs. McCartney, congratulations. What does it feel like to have just married one of the most eligible bachelors in the world, with the envy of all the ladies?
Well, it feels great to be married.
Do you think she knew what she was getting herself into?
I'll tell you what she really wasn't ready for, was the sort of bitchiness. Who is this woman, you know? He's marrying an American with a child, and I know it hurt. Fans used to write stuff on the wall outside the house. To say it was not complimentary was an understatement of the year. It was like really savage stuff.
She was pregnant with me then.
With you?
Actually,
right.
when you got married, if you calculate it out.
I know, it's true.
That would be something. It really would be something.
When you were born, it was the first time I'd really seen magic taking place in front of my eyes. You came out with a big head of dark hair, and it was great. It was just lovely. That was very good, set against the tension of the Beatles sessions. Mum was a very good balance for all of that.
Beach in the falling rain, mama. Beach in the falling rain.
I've since titled this picture, The Four Strangers. This was during very tough times. The pressure of business had taken over.
Quite soon after the wedding, you released a solo album. You wrote and recorded that at home, and it's sort of in secret. It was all done very secretly. Had you written the songs thinking that they were going to be for a solo album?
Some of them were Beatles songs that I'd actually tried with the Beatles and maybe hadn't worked out. There was one called Teddy Boy. So I tried that out, but nobody had any patience with each other. Whereas had it been in the earlier days, we might have said, no, look, why don't we try it like this? But it was like, I'm fed up with this, you know. So we never got around to doing it well. So I thought, right, well, I'll do it on my own album.
This is the story of a boy named Ted. If his mother said Ted be good, he would.
I started recording because I love making music so much. I just didn't want to stop.
And she cried, oh my.
I had a 4-track machine and I just had it in the living room over in the corner. And I got this very simple technique of just plugging in directly right into the back of the machine, which is a really cool way to record, actually. So pure. The sound, there's nothing purer. Listen to it back and think, oh, there's not enough hi-hat, there's not enough cymbal. So I just...
Then came the day she found herself a man. Teddy turned and ran far away. Okay.
I mean, I like that primitive way of recording. Did most of the album just in that living room. And the back cover was the picture of you as a baby in my jacket. So cute. I just had a little fragment of a little thing that I'd written. I used to sort of sing around the house, and I stuck it on to open the album. And you can hear like the door of the living room squeak as the recording. I think Mum walked through, you know, so I was doing it. It was like, la 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 la, the lovely Linda, with the lovely flowers in her hair. was nice. Towards the end of the Beatles, there were troubles arising from all sorts of directions. We had a business manager came in from America who we thought was going to be the great new thing. It really got very weird. You'd spend your days arguing about business, arguing with the other Beatles. So something that had been full of artistic freedom was now a nightmare, and I couldn't handle it.
He is obligated into Apple for a considerable number of years, so his disassociating himself with me has really no effect.
The other Beatles said we'd stay with Klein, and Paul found this inexplicable.
It's a very tragic end to the Beatles.
The press release was in the McCartney album.
Within the McCartney album, yeah.
This is the thing that he prepared to send out to the album that went out to all the nationals.
It's not as bad as it seems, you know.
He doesn't know whether it's temporary or permanent. That's the truth.
Is anybody coming to read the statement now or anything else like that?
This is the only statement.
He'd had enough.
It could be a rebirth or a death. It'd probably be a rebirth for all of us.
This is really terrible. Not anything left of Apple, Beatles or anything.
The Beatles are going to go on till they die, you know?
Yes, contractually they have to, and I think emotionally they'd all wanted to. They've never argued about money.
Paul McCartney decided.
He wants to find out who he is himself and whether he can do what he wants to do.
Looking back on it, you can see there's no way we can continue. That was probably the worst, most difficult decision of my whole life. I thought, I love these guys, but I've got to get out of this.
Some people's perception is that you broke up the Beatles.
Yeah, because I announced that the Beatles had broken up. In actual fact, it had happened months before, and it was John quite categorically saying, I'm leaving the Beatles. You know, in truth, it doesn't matter who broke the Beatles up. The Beatles were ready to break up. I nearly had a breakdown, I suppose, you know. The hurt of it all and the disappointment and the sorrow at losing this great band, these great friends. We had to get on. We had to just do something new, all of us.
I mean, this farm Paul had bought in Scotland, he said, I know you won't like it, but let's go up there. It was sort of a just get away and go back to the beginning.
I believe definitely in going by your own instincts.
We decided the only thing to do, really, was to boycott Apple, to just get out of there, not go to any of the meetings that were such a headache. Let's get out of there and come to Scotland. So we did. We took the kids, we took the dogs, took everything we had, put a guitar on the top of it and a potty for the baby, and that was it. We just came up here and we just... Newspapers eventually called us recluses.
Are you dead? Yes, well, I can definitely deny that rumour. Here and now.
Because I don't think people realize that for them it's headlines in the newspapers, but everybody starts bothering us. You know, when we come out here to be left alone.
It really hit me. Very insecure, very paranoid, very out of work, very useless. I was going crazy. I wouldn't get up in the morning, and when I did get up, I wouldn't shave or bother with anything, and I'd reach for the whiskey, and I'd have a whiskey, and as soon as I got up and stuff. So that was a path that was not really going to be a good one. I was going downhill. I'd read the musicals, the newspapers, and they'd have a bad article about me. You know, he broke up the Beatles or something. I go, oh my God, no. You know, they'd send me off on another bout. If I'd have been doing that on my own, I'm not sure I would have got out of it. But very luckily, Mum was there. Just sort of said, no, look, you don't need to do this. There's a way you can do your music. And she started to steer me in a good direction. And so I started to feel much better about myself.
Baby, I'm amazed the way you love me all the time. And maybe I'm afraid of the way I love you. Baby, I'm amazed the way you pulled me out of time. You hung me on the line. Baby, I'm amazed at the way I really need you. Baby, I'm a man. Baby, I'm a lonely man who's in the middle of something that he doesn't really understand. Baby, I'm a man, and maybe you're the only woman who can ever help me. Baby, won't you help me to understand?
Well, at the moment, it's all the money I haven't. Because, you know, I have these slight business troubles on, and at the moment, I don't actually receive any money.
Mum had some savings from her photography and stuff in New York. And so we kind of were able to live on that for a while. But it was a silly situation, really, because you knew with the Beatles' success, I did sort of have money. It wasn't like I didn't have it. I just couldn't get at it. It was all frozen, receivership and all this stuff, all these legal things. So luckily, we were living quite simply.
In a lumberyard. We were living in a lumberyard. Well, that home we were pulling
It
back
was a bit
and
of a
just
tip,
being
wasn't
like,
it? Yeah. I mean, I never remembered that until I saw the home movies, and it's like, what were we doing?
Want a horse, I want a sheep, I want to give me a good night's sleep. Living in a home in the heart of the country.
It was a 3-room house with rats in the wall. It was derelict. It was at the end of nowhere. Had no hot water or anything. But it was some of the best years of my life and his life.
Well, when I walk, oh, my horse upon her head. When I walk.
Tell us about the farm. This seems to be your new life.
Well, it's just getting back to natural living, really. We have horses and sheep, and we plant our own vegetables. And it's the only place we go to where we can just be very natural in this unnatural world. I've always been animal crazy, and so I guess I sort of introduced animals to Paul. He now has his own horse, and he's a fantastic rider. And we herd the sheep on the horses, and we clip them ourselves, and we sort of take care of the place. And it really is a matter of getting back into life again.
Money started to sort of flow again. Somehow the Beatles things got cleared up. And it was really a question of how to do music without this band that I'd been in forever, you know.
when we were in bed, would you come in here and jam in the evenings with Mum?
Yeah, we'd make sure everyone was fed, happy, and asleep. Tuck you into bed. Then we'd come out here and do a bit of jamming, a bit of playing, sometimes a bit of writing. Up at the farm, I'd had a little 4-track studio put in there. So I was able to demo and experiment and make bits and pieces of music. During that time, I was painting the roof, and Mum had bought the 2 first reggae records that hit Britain, which were called Tighten Up. So it was great. It was just a really hot summertime thing, reggae music and stuff. So it made us think, you know what, we should go to Jamaica. Wouldn't that be great?
Fantastic. They've just got singles down there. It's like the 50s, you know, it's just fantastic music. And all the kids, you know, it's so loose down there, and all the kids, they blast it like in Montego Bay. Every corner they're playing reggae. I love reggae, my favorite.
The whole reggae thing was so free and so young and new and fresh. We came in the studio here and influenced by that. She wrote her first song, which was Seaside Woman, which was based on the Jamaican experience.
Oh, Papa, catch the fish from the bottom of the sea.
It was nice to sort of find a kind of a girlfriend, a wife, a mother of my kids, who I could associate with on a kind of music level.
I don't belong, my heart isn't strong. Don't belong. The next time around, she'll be here. Hey, diddle, I want you back. Diddle, I want you back. Hey, diddle, I want you back. Diddle, I want you back.
I remember just sitting with Mum one time saying, what do you think? Think it'd be a good idea to try and start something? So we chatted it through and it was like, yeah, keep going.
Oh, yes, make some stepping down.
Ram. I've been listening to that a lot because in retrospect, it's quite an interesting album. We thought, well, let's sort of make a change. Let's go to New York. Good place, a lot of great musicians. Let's get a different slant on everything. So I just held some drum auditions, put the word out, and drummers came around. And Denny Cyril was the best of those. He'd been working as a session man, and he was a nice guy, so we got on well. So I started the Ram sessions with him.
My long-haired lady.
And having my best mate, my wife, to sing along with was very comforting.
Love is long, love is long, love is long. Sing your song. Love is long, love is long.
Did it feel at the time that you were really putting your new outlook to the test? You sort of been doing harmonies and you've been
it was really,
jamming and...
It was really kind of actually getting a bit more professional.
And in the morning you bring to me
When we were doing Ram, the headline was, who does Linda McCartney think she is? This whole thing about how I'm not fashionable, Paul's fashionable, all this crap. I think you could get crushed. You know, it's like sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will break my heart. So who listens?
Came back to England, and we just were talking one night, and I said, do you think you can handle being in a band? And Mum just thought about it. I don't know. So I've never done it before. I said, well, I know, but when the Beatles started, we'd never done it before. And I said, can you imagine? We're standing behind a curtain, and the curtain's open, and we're in a band, and there's all people there. How would you feel about that? You know, they completely freak you, or could you get into it? I said, I think I can get into it. So that was really the basis. We said, right, let's try it. Let's do it.
holding hands, we both abandoned sorrow. Oh, for a chance to get away tomorrow.
I suddenly realized that I didn't actually know how to set up a band. If you think about it, I'd never actually done it before. I joined the Beatles as an already set up affair. So I had to think about how I was going to do it. And to tell you the truth, I didn't have a clue. I decided I didn't really want to get together a supergroup of established names, which might have been the easiest option. I thought it'd be better to just get hold of some like-minded musicians who would enable us to grow together. We had Denny from New York, Denny Siwa, and then I wanted kind of another male singer to sing along with, I think because I was so used to it with John. And so I remember Denny Lane from the Moody Blues. We'd been on tour with them, with the Beatles, and I knew he was a good singer, nice guy. So I called him up, and he decided to join. And he came to Scotland and rehearsed with us. So that was it. We started to put together a band and recorded the first Wings record.
But I'm still just Paul McCartney. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just still some fellow who wants to just sort of play and sing and have a good time and that. So I'm going to make sure I can do it.
Wasn't Mum quite heavily pregnant with Stella during those recordings?
Yeah.
So that sort of whole family thing intertwining throughout. So it's like, right, we're starting a band, we'll do an album. And Mum's like, out here.
If she'd have wanted to stop, I think we would have just sort of said, yeah, OK. It just didn't come up, really. There was some complications with Stella. With you, it had been very easy, birth and everything. With Stella, it was such a touch-and-go thing. It was a little bit of a drama. And so when the baby came along, I think I'd been rather thankful for the whole thing and I was imagining, I seem to remember one day sort of imagining sort of angels' wings and things like that. And I thought, wow, that's a nice image. Wings. That's how it came about. In King's College Hospital.
In November, Paul and Linda held a launching party in London to introduce their group Wings and the LP Wings Wildlife.
You had a big reception, didn't you?
Well, actually, we had a ball. We had a big dance, actually, so as we could get an evening out as well, you see.
Do you often have evenings out?
Yes, you know, we got the pictures and that, but we don't often go to a dance.
Out of the way now.
So you had your own dance?
So we had our own dance, yes, down in London there. And we invited a lot of people, and we just danced all night. It was a good do.
Really, at the moment, what we're going to do, you see, I decided we've got to take the first step and just rehearse the group. We've been doing this a week or so now. And it's already getting much better, I think, you know, it's because we're beginning to play a bit tighter and a bit better. At the moment, we've got a young guitarist called Henry playing with us. And, you know, there's nothing really sort of set yet, but he might come in.
You've recorded Wings Wildlife, released that, had a party, launched the band.
Yeah.
And now it's like rehearsing to go out on the road.
Yeah, we tried to learn up all our stuff, tried to get the band together, you know, really get to feel like that. Some of the people we were using as roadies happened to know this guy called Henry. Who'd been in Joe Cocker's Grease band. So they said, he's really good, you know, so he showed up to a rehearsal and we got on well. So he became the guitar player. Mum on keyboard, me on bass. That became the first sort of lineup of Wings.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The idea of just working with complete strangers always used to terrify me, the idea of you're sitting there and you look to one side, you go, what the hell's that? You go over here, my God, you shock yourself, what the hell am I thinking?
Paul wanted me to be in a band with him. I didn't really want to be in a band. And I said, I don't play anything, and I love music, but I'm a photographer. He said, well, here's middle C, you can play keyboard.
I think she suddenly realised, God, what have I got myself into here? Suddenly being in this band with Paul McCartney, you know, crazy.
Because that's what I would imagine, because from knowing her, she would sort of say yes to something because she's enthusiastic, because she liked music, and then, like, the reality of what she was doing probably sunk in as, like, am I kidding? Like,
well, you know, that was part of the thrill of Wings. It was like a bit like getting on a tightrope, you know.
We've rehearsed, though. We could play live. We could easily play live.
We're going back to square one, so we won't book a big tour, we won't even book hotels. We'll just go in a van with the band, the kids, the dogs. We'll all just take off up the motorway and we'll find somewhere to play.
We're used to it, actually, because we travel around a lot with the kids and the dogs.
For instance, today when we leave here, we'll just get in the van and we'll pick up a map.
We didn't tell the press, we just went off on this secret tour. We drove north, off the M1, until we got near Nottingham, a place called Ashby de la Zouche. We said, that sounds pretty good. Let's see if there's a university around here and ask some students if they want us to play for them at all. The nearest university was Nottingham University. Our roadie went out and he said, hey, we've got Paul McCartney in the band, do you want him to play for you tonight? The head of the Students' Union was confused and dazed, but he took one look at me. He said, oh, yeah, all right. So that was what we did, the first gig on our university tour.
And we've been doing that ever since. We've been to York, Hull, Newcastle, Sheffield last night. It was just great.
We were at Newcastle City Hall. We'd like to do something like wildlife. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Nothing. Just silence. I looked around, and Linda's going, it's like, I've forgotten the chords. So I go over, I walk over, and then I go, and I can't remember the bloody things. I'm going, well, this time the audience is rolling. They're loving it. And then suddenly she remembered it. 1, 2, 3, down. We went into it. The heart was beating fast. We had quite a few moments like that. The tour was full of sheer panic, but it meant that there was a good camaraderie, and it was building the relationships between all the people in the band, and ready for our next step, which was Europe.
We were on holiday, you know, and we were trying to sort of get healthy before a tour, because you think, oh, God, it's really going to take it out of you. But we suddenly thought, you know, if we're going to be in Europe in the summer, you know, going to places like south of France, you know, it's just silly to just be in some little box all day, gasping for air and stuff. So we came with this idea to have a open deck, you know, upper deck kind of thing. We've got some mattresses up there, you know, so we can just cruise along. Fantastic. Just great, just lie around, you know, just to get the sun, you see. Keep healthy, man, on tour. Can't be bad.
Van harte welkom voor de 4e maal alweer in Nederland. From England, Wings.
At the moment, we're doing a European thing to sort of play the band in. It's a very new band, you know. And if you go and play sort of Britain or America with a very new band, you're really on the spot, you know. You've got to be red hot. And it takes a little time for a band to get red hot. Yeah. You know, it's a question of, it's almost like living together for a little while, bouncing off each other and stuff. You know, this is what we're learning to do on this tour. At the expense, I suppose, of the Europeans.
Do you find it a great strain working, you know, with someone like Paul? I know it's your husband, but...
Easy. Really, I find it very easy. Totally, you know, I'm just still learning. But it's fun, it's like life, you know, it's just another thing in life.
People would say, you know, what's he doing with his old lady up there, you know?
Quite a gutsy thing to do, really, because she didn't have the experience that you had.
It was a very gutsy thing to do. She had courage to do it. Once or twice we thought, oh my God, what have we bitten off?
I was nervous first half, definitely. We had no sound check, no rehearsal, no nothing. We had to go on cold, you know. So I had to warm up a bit. We were very hot second half.
As he left the court, McCartney, who'd been given 2 weeks to pay the fine, said, "The judge is a great guy."
McCartney's counsel admitted he had knowingly grown the plants, but had not known what they were.
The cannabis seeds had been planted at his farm about 4 miles from here. It was said that those seeds had been sent to you. How did you come to grow them?
Yeah, well, we got a load of seeds, you know, kind of in the post, and we didn't know what they were, you know. We kind of planted them all, and 5 of them came up illegal.
Now, of course, this conviction might affect your entry to the States, where you have considerable business interests there.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Well, you know, I understand I might not get stopped from going into the States because it's a technical offence. I hope not, anyway.
We're gonna get high, 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 with the music on.
Looking back on it now, I have a completely different perspective, you know, and kind of go, wow, you know, it's not that cool. The truth of the matter was that the drug scene, for that sort of small time, it all seemed to us quite harmless. We seemed like, you know, we thought, well, we've all got it in control. So many of our friends were doing it. So a song like Hi, Hi, Hi seemed like perfectly harmless little rock and roll song. But because we're going to get high, 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 the BBC said, we're not playing that, you know. So they banned it. Of course, that made it much more popular.
I go to the film to hear the soundtrack. Picture becomes a background. They just filmed the background for some music I wrote. It's the new James Bond film, Live and Let Die.
You and Mum and Wings performed Live and Let Die.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Hey?
Kick you with my heels. Live and Let Die.
Yeah. I heard that they were making a new James Bond film, and one of those things, if you're the kind of writer I am, is it's always one of those little ambitions. Do the Bond song. And I got the idea, fairly straightforward idea, of live and let die, okay, live and let live. So when you were young, and you're an open book, you used to say live and let live.
Live and let live. You know you need to know you need to know. But if this ever-changing world in which we live in makes you give in and cry, say live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die. Live and let die.
So we did that, made the record, finished it. Mum wrote the middle bit. Doesn't matter to you.
What does it matter to
The sort of the reggae bit in the middle.
when you got a job to do, you got to do it well. You got to give your fella
And then we took it out to where they were filming in the Caribbean somewhere, and the guys listened to it. And he said, okay, that's okay for the demo. When are you going to make the real record? He said, this is the real record.
Well, the real problems for me are seeing enough of the children, because I don't want other people to influence them. I want them to have as normal a life as possible. So it's really, you get home and you're a bit tired, and getting up early enough to be with the kids and keeping them under our wings. Sometimes you're working all day, and if you hadn't been working with your husband, he'd come home and you'd be all fresh and he'd be all tired, and you could build up his morale. But sometimes we come home, we're both exhausted. Listen, it's better than not.
Looking back on it, it feels like it was easy, but I don't think it was. You tend to forget the bad moments and the difficult moments. It was not always a laugh and always a bundle of fun. The pressures of bringing the band on tour, if any of you kids ever got ill, it certainly got hard from time to time. And it would be a strain on our relationship. But what isn't a strain on relationships? You know, you find any couple. I don't think there's any such thing as like an ideal couple.
Well, I think we like the same things. We're committed, but it is. I think relationships are the hardest thing going in life, really. But you have to work at it, and we both work at it and have a laugh or have an argument. But we always end up in a laugh.
All at once you get love on your mind, and your world is as kind as a penny.
Now that I really do know chords and I do have a feel for music, I really love it. Well, I've got so much pleasure out of it now. I think at first when you don't know anything, you can't really get pleasure out of it. It was such a contrast from what people expected. I can almost see why they put me down.
Probably you, more than any other member of the band, comes in for a lot of stick from all the press. I mean, how do you react to this?
Well, I think it's getting better. I think it was justified at first. I didn't have any training, and I was learning piano when we first started.
Hello.
But now that I like it, you know, and I'm getting better at it, so don't think they'll get me so much.
Would you get quite defensive about people saying those kind of things about Aaron Gatt?
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, the way we thought of it, we were in it for fun. It was music. This was not nuclear science. It was not like we were making the atomic bomb in Los Alamos. You know, it was like, the world didn't depend on it. It was just something we wanted to do. So if we got it wrong, all right, you know, just big deal, you know. Take it out of that. We don't have to justify ourselves.
And she knew a lot of it was critics needing to fill space.
That's what they're going to do.
But she'd also not only have it on the musical thing, it would also be on the way she dressed or whether she shaved her legs.
She got it on everything. I mean, she, for instance, you know, she's just really cute about all that. She just liked to be different and liked to do stuff for fun. So she bought these Argyle socks, and you know, obviously they match. But she'd wear ones that didn't match. She'd wear one Stuart tartan and one McPherson tartan or something, you know. And people would say, she's wearing Argyle socks that don't match. And we were thinking of her saying, do you think they think she doesn't know?
Most of the styles that she wore then have so come back around now.
In fact, I think, you know, Stell admits that a lot of her designs are memories of sort of Mum's things.
What about My Love? What inspired you to write My Love?
What inspired me to write My Love was your mummy.
And when I go away, I know my heart can stay with my love.
We'd been together a while, and we were having a great time. We were very in love. And I sat down at the piano, and I was thinking about Mum, our thing, you know. And it just came out. It was a love song to her.
And my love, does it go? Whoa, 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 whoa. My love, does it go?
Just before the take, Henry McCulloch, the guitarist, come over to me, and he whispered to me, he said, do you mind if I try something different on the solo? And he did this great solo out of nowhere.
And so you've recorded My Love with Henry, and you've still got Denny Sywell as your drummer.
Yeah.
But then they left the band. Can you just tell me how that came about?
I was looking around for somewhere exciting to record the next album. So what I did, I thought a good idea would be to get a list off EMI, our record company, of all the studios they had around the world. It turned out they had one in Africa. We just said, yeah, let's go to Africa. The night before we were due to go, Denny and Henry rang up and said, we're not coming. We're not coming to Africa. We don't want to come. We're leaving the band. I said, oh, great, thank you. Oh, God, you know, here we go again. At first, it was like, oh, no, tragedy. But then, you know, I just sort of thought, right, we're going to go and we're going to show you, we're going to make the best album we've ever made. So we did. We went to Lagos, as planned. Just three of us. No drummer, no guitar player. Denny, me, and Linda. I thought it was going to be gorgeous Africa, African music, African culture. So it was like monsoon season. The studio wasn't built. Ting, 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 ting. We'd just gone there to be in what we thought would be like a really cool place to record the album. But we had a bit of a dangerous time making it. There was a local guy called Fela Ransom Kuti, who was a really cool musician. He was the local top guy. But he showed up at the studio one day. He said, you have come here, you know, Westerners, to steal our sound and the music. So I played him a few tracks, and I said, look, is this stealing your music? He said, no, that's okay. I see you're not doing that. It was going to become a little bit sort of dangerous because he was quite a voice in Lagos. Oh, another thing was, just Mum and I walking back, and a car just came up, and suddenly all the doors open. Like 5 guys get out, and they've like got knives, then just screaming, what do you want? Leave him alone! He's a musician! Cameras? Yeah, camera. Take him. You can have him. And all the stuff I'd written was on the tape in one of the cassettes. But they took that. And we always figured that they'd probably recorded over it. Thinking, you know, let's get some decent music on here.
Hello, Mr. Coburn. I've got this record, and there's this sort of cover, and it's a band on the run, and what do you say? It was Linda, I think, who suddenly thought, well, you know, if we're going to have a bunch of people, instead of just having some models in there, wouldn't it be great if each one of them was like a face you'd recognise? You think, oh, it's him, you know.
When we got back, I saw a letter that said, don't under any conditions go to Lagos. Cancel. There's been an outbreak of cholera.
Oh, my God. So basically, it was you, Mum, and Denny again.
Yeah.
You needed to get a band together.
Yeah.
How did you go about that?
So we did our usual thing of holding some drum auditions. Out of them, we picked a guy called Jeff Britton, who was a good, solid rock and roll drummer. Then I'd seen a guitar player who was a very young guy who'd been with a group called Thunderclap Newman that Pete Townsend had had something to do with putting together. This was Jimmy McCulloch, and he's kind of a young whiz kid. So he became our guitarist, so there was now me, Denny, Linda, Jimmy, and Jeff.
Somewhere to the south of New York City, there's a lies the friendly state of Tennessee.
So we went off to Nashville. It was really to get the band broken in, and then at the end of that period, once we kind of had rehearsed the band, to make a record.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Down to Junior's farm where I wanna lay low. Low life, high life, let's go. Take me down to Junior's farm. Take me down, Jimmy.
Well, Jeff Britton didn't last for very long.
Why didn't Jeff last too long? It's like in the Beatles, we had Pete Best, who was a really good drummer, but there just was something. He wasn't quite like the rest of us. We had kind of a sense of humor in common, and he was nearly in with it all. But it's a fine line, you know, as to what is exactly in and what is nearly in. So he left the band, and we were looking around for someone who would fit. It turned out to be Joe English, a very interesting kind of drummer. He was fun, he seemed to fit with the band. And now with Jimmy and Joe, we were ready to get bigger.
Do you have anything to say to the people of New Orleans?
Yes, indeed. Mardi Gras.
All right. Keep smiling. We love you. When's your album going to come out?
About 2 months, probably.
Any idea what the title's going to be?
Not yet, but stick around and we'll let you know.
But Venus and Mars are all right tonight.
This is just a little hint.
Love is blind. Well, I don't know, but I say love is kind.
We were getting around a bit in those days. You know, we went to Lagos because of African music, went to Nashville because it was America, and, you know, the New Orleans scene, the sort of R&B thing there is great. Even though you didn't use the style of the town you were in too much, it still influenced the way you felt.
Shall we dance?
So Joe would probably drum a bit funkier than if he was in Lancashire. We took a couple of days off and had Mardi Gras.
Got dressed up.
Dressed up as clowns, thinking no one will recognise us at all. And people in the street, hi, Paul. I said, no, I'm a clown. Hey, Paul.
It's my carnival. It's a lovely day. Well, it's my carnival. It's a lovely day.
It was fantastic, really, because we'd come from very small beginnings. After the hugeness of the Beatles, we'd put together this new band, actually making records that people really liked, #1 records. We'd wanted to start summing up just to continue playing music. Then we'd wanted it to be something cool that was us, allowed us to be free and experiment. Then we wanted to practice it and get a really good group. So we finally had done all of those things. And now here we were, like, poised to actually take it out and show off a bit. So on September the 9th, we kicked off the world tour at the Gaumont Theatre, Southampton, England.
Sitting in the stand at the sports arena, waiting for the show to begin. Red lights, green lights, strawberry wine. A good friend of mine follows the stars. Venus and Mars are all right tonight.
us all across the other side of the world to Australia. Was that a difficult decision to make?
The only people it was an issue to were newspaper people. So, oh, look at those dreadful rock and roll people doing that, you know. It was not like you were hanging around all night and everyone was out on acid or out on coke or totally out of it. There were parties and stuff, but they were a bit more like family parties.
We always had to go to bed. I remember wanting
you
to
had to
stay
go to
up and
bed.
being ushered into either not being there and being back sleeping, or be like going into a bedroom and having to go to sleep and being like, we want to stay
That's
up.
kids, though. That's what kids always want to stay up, and they always have to go to bed. We managed one way or another to combine being in a rock and roll band and bringing up a family.
Any problems with security these days for your children and your wife?
No, I don't think so. You know, we don't worry too much about it, but we've got a fellow working with us at the moment called Billy. Billy! You've seen Billy? He's about 10 foot tall and he's got a
Heart of gold.
heart of gold, yeah. Morning, all.
Carrot.
It's going to see the horses.
Yeah.
You want to tag along?
This is the wing carrot, you see?
Everybody tag.
Mother and wife is it for me. And then riding my horse and my animals is it to me. And photography is part of that. This is called a prickly pear cacti. You find those in Arizona as well. I wasn't very good at school. In school, see that? Notice the wildflowers at this beautiful place where we're staying. But I think pretty much if you get an experience in life,
After you, lads.
understand people more than what you learn in school.
This one's going to have a baby.
Any day now.
I mean, Heather is very worldly, just having come with us everywhere we've gone.
The shirts, we should have got some bread for this. Oh, look at it.
Come on, little girl.
A little rock and roll song for you here. People together here tonight. I want you to listen to me. To your left and to your right. That's a pretty story coming to me.
McCartney has just been told that a planned tour of Japan, scheduled to follow his Australian tour, had just been cancelled because of a conviction in Britain for possessing cannabis.
How do you feel about being kept out of Japan, Paul?
Oh, it's a bit tough, you know. It's a pity because we were ready to go and everything.
Hello, people of Japan. This is Paul McCartney of Wings, saying that we're very sorry that we can't come to Japan to play our music to you this time, but if the Minister of Justice says we can't come in, then we can't come in. So we'll see you next time. Don't worry, we'll see you when we come back to your beautiful country. Sayonara. And in fact, rock on.
We'd come a long way, and it was a great tour. All the news people go, oh, McCartney's back in town with Wings.
6 years after the Beatles broke up, Paul McCartney was coming back as one of the few 60s superstars still alive, still making music and money, still a superstar.
McCartney is the most successful former Beatle. He's had 6 gold records, and it's estimated that this tour will take in over $5 million.
And by the time we got to Seattle, we've got the world attendance record.
Flying high, Paul McCartney is a superstar the second time around.
Is sold out for 3 nights, bringing in over $500,000 on the strength of Paul McCartney and Wings. It is his show and his money.
It's exciting. It's like you've had a lot of parties in little places. Now you're going to have a party in a whacking great place.
The more people who see the show, the better. I really like the stadiums. I find them very intimate. I know most people don't. I don't really want to go back to the little ones.
The concert began in the dark, and smoke machines filled the stage with fog. At 8:25, the lights came up, and there he was.
Maybe John would show up.
McCartney insists the Beatles are dead. Long live Wings.
Maybe here, maybe tonight. So far, no Beatle bulletins. Will it happen tomorrow night?
It's probably no-no.
You know, I'm bound to ask about that multi-million-dollar offer to reform the Beatles.
We don't know, but we will be there to find out.
Just perhaps, all 4 Beatles may show up on the stage here.
The Beatles split in '69, and since then, they've been doing fine. And if that question doesn't cease, ain't no one gonna get no peace. And if you ask it just once more, I think I'm gonna break your jaw. This was a little ditty that I made up, Muhammad Ali style, in order to answer the inevitable question I was getting asked at that time, which was, when are the Beatles gonna get back together? When are the Beatles gonna get back together? There were 1 or 2 little hiccups, because Jimmy was his own man, shall we say. There was one incident when he didn't want to come back on for the encore. And so I was like, what? I mean, I've never had anyone decide that ever before, so I sort of just ran off. So grabbed him, said, you're coming back on. And he responded well to that bit of direction. He came on, he played a blinder. And the word spread that, like, this was a good show. Never mind the Beatles. This is like a good show to go and see. There's something completely different.
How did it feel to, like, turn and see Mum by your side?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was really great, yeah. Beautiful. It was great for me. It was kind of the payoff. You know, that was the crazy idea we'd started in the beginning. What if you're up on stage with me? And even though it seemed like totally impossible, there it was happening.
This tour has been so much fun, especially on stage. Right, honey?
Right, honey.
She's enjoying being in the band, doing all the harmonies, doing the keyboards. She's confident, and we were having a good time. She's kind of answered all their critics. That's all gone away, you know. People are now saying, wow, you know, this is just a good band. Which is really the point we'd wanted to get to.
Right now, I'm speaking to you from a backstage phone. After a sellout performance that had the 20,000 and plus McCartney fans on their feet, no John Lennon, no George Harrison, and no Ringo Starr. Just Paul McCartney and Wings. For everyone here tonight, that seemed to be plenty.
A typical day is pretty ordinary. For me, I like ordinary. It's what I'm about.
One thing people say to me a lot is, how did you stay so normal? You know, and I just sort of say, well, you know, I've always been around normal people. My family, you guys.
We'd be like, Dad, can you stop playing the guitar? I'm trying to watch TV.
I'm a famous composer, darling.
I know.
This is important. Oh, Dad, shut up.
Toot, 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 toot. Silver rain was falling down upon the dirty ground of London town.
You'd think with a song called London Town, you'd make the album in London. No, much too easy. We've got to go out to the Virgin Islands on boats. One boat, turn it into a recording studio, then have a couple of boats for living on. Jimmy McCulloch just liked partying too much. I was rung up one morning by Steve Marriott, a good singer, and he said, oh, me and Jimmy have been up all night and he's decided he wants to join me and leave the group. And so I was a little bit sort of, you know, put out, but I said to him, hey, you know, good luck, guys, and I'll see you, Jim.
I'm carrying something. I'm carrying something for you.
It was going to be our last child. We both kind of secretly wanted a boy, you know?
Carry me back to the days I knew then.
I remember particularly when we were recording Muller Kintyre, her being pregnant, we were doing the harmonies. She always used to love the fact that she was singing Muller Kintyre. You know, because if you believe that thing, that babies can hear that, like I know you do, then it's quite kind of cute, you know. He was sort of on the record almost. It was just a kind of love song to the area where we were living, Muller Kintyre. At that time, the era was like punk rock. Had just come in, so it was all, you know.
Yeah.
God save the Queen. The thought of releasing a Scottish waltz in the middle of all that was like, well, that's going to be unusual.
And tears in the rain.
We came up in full dress and all the young lads with the drums and stuff.
Flickering embers grow higher and higher.
So we finished it up, said, right, now break out the ale. Oh, and they were getting nice and rosy-cheeked tonight. We were playing it back. That's a #1. That's a #1 hit.
What's number one in the hit parade?
Wings is Muller Kintyre.
Wings with their new single and their beautiful Muller Kintyre.
Ladies and gentlemen, Wings.
My desire is always to be here. Oh, Muller Kintyre.
It was a screaming hit. It just went crazy. It was the biggest selling record in the history of the gramophone.
That string of achievements and the sale of over 2 million copies of Mull of Kintyre probably have made him a permanent entry in the Guinness Book of Records.
A nice nurse came out and she just said, "It's a boy." So I grabbed her, picked her up, hugged her, and rang you kids. Guess what? It's a boy. I could hear you go, "Ah!" screaming. That was James. Little cute thing, lovely boy. I always used to say, I sort of ruined your career, didn't I? You know, you got married to me, became Mrs. McCartney. Whereas you were Linda Eastman, respected photographer, artist. Because the danger was, you know, that it got overshadowed by my name, which was now her name. She got an offer to do a book and put an exhibition together and stuff. So she did, and it was the start of the reawakening of her photographic career.
And why do you think it was happening then rather than before?
I think it really only occurred at that point, probably because we've been working on Wings, and the danger with spending that much time as a band member and as a wife is that an important part of your life could be forgotten. She was too good, though, you know, it couldn't be kept down. The ever-changing lineup of Wings. Joe, the drummer, got very homesick for America. And I remember thinking, oh, well, look, you know, the group's breaking up again. And you can get fed up with that.
Well, I've had enough.
I mean, people used to make a bit of fun of it, you know, like, whoa, another band change for Wings.
If you'd have taken an error and run it right through me.
I would have liked it to have stayed together, sure. When it didn't, we eventually found Lawrence Juba and Steve Holley, so we made Back to the Egg with that lineup. We thought it would be a big seller, actually, and it wasn't. But I mean, I know I'll meet some people who say, my favourite album of yours is Back to the Egg. I know that will happen.
In a village in old Sand, lived a lady who lost her way. And her never to find a man said, found herself an old June game. Waited round and walked and stuff.
Paul McCartney and his wife Linda are standing by on stage in London tonight via satellite before one of their concerts at the Rainbow Theatre.
Scattered round Scarborough.
I think we've seen the sign on the marquee out front of the theatre there that says Wings is sold out tonight. It doesn't appear that Wings is in any kind of trouble right now.
Well, we keep trying, you know.
How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it current?
I think the trick is we enjoy doing it. We've been making records together for about a year with this band, and so it's good fun now to go on the road and to do the songs to people. It's a new experience that we're still enjoying. I suppose when we don't enjoy it, we'll knock it on the head, but at the moment we're enjoying it.
It was strange, really. We were feeling like we'd done what we set out to do. And we're getting a little bit fed up of another lineup. Here we go, another dollar, another day. It started to just wind down. The enthusiasm, I think, had peaked.
Have Wings got any plans to tour?
We're going to Japan in January.
We arrived there for this very big Japanese tour.
Oh, hello, Tokyo. Linda, please.
It was very shocking. We had this pot, tell you the truth. I really don't know to this day what made me do it. I had to be handcuffed all the time. So I was wandering around being taken out in the street where there was all these fans screaming like it was Beatlemania. And instead of going to a gig, I was going to a cell.
Well, it's a strain. I wouldn't mind if we knew what was happening and knew he was getting out.
I'd heard that the penalty for this was 7 years hard labor. We weren't allowed to touch each other. She was on the other side of a a grill, and I wasn't allowed to see the kids at all. I'm like supposed to be a responsible father. What have I done? I realized it was a big mistake.
Newsmen were there in force as the singer emerged, cheerful if somewhat bemused, from the police station where he spent the last 9 days in the cells.
I suddenly didn't have to do the tour. It was almost as if I wanted to get busted. I mean, you know, there are times in your life you just think, okay, you're an idiot. And that's one of them. I was an idiot.
The Japanese prosecutor decided not to proceed with the case and listed a number of reasons. Amongst them, he said, Paul McCartney's sense of regret and the fact that he'd suffered what the Japanese call social punishment.
Well, they've been all right. It's all right. At least it's over.
I think I now have to own up. We didn't have a conventional life. She used to say every Christmas morning, she used to look out of her bedroom window and pray that there'd be a horse on the lawn with a bow around its neck. Mom had lost her mum, I think, when she was about 19. I lost mine when I was about 14. So when we got married and she told me all these stories, I thought, I know the feeling. We can sympathize with each other and have little emotional moments about it and be able to relate. So all those little things, you know, brought us together.
I've had experiences where I've been on my horse on my own, just riding around, like let's say in a field of wildflowers or in the woods, and for a second, I feel like I'm in heaven, heaven on earth. You know how that's a fleeting feeling, but I've definitely had that, and it is the best. I just love it.
If you're lucky, all music's to do with freedom. I mean, that was very much Mum's attitude, was, you know, it's not their life, it's our life. We've just got to keep true to ourselves. Nothing to do with critics, nothing to do with other bands, nothing to do with anyone, really. You do what you can do, you know, under the best conditions and stuff. And if it works out, great. If you make some good music, even better.
That's what I like to hear. So why did you let Wings end in the end?
I think it was just that Japanese tour, you know. It ended in a bit of a disaster, so it was like, maybe it's time to not even bother with any of that now. Maybe it's just time to give it all a rest, and just sit back and just see what's what, see what you want to do, rather than what you think you must do.
But if you don't feel it,
I had fun. I don't care about critics, because I don't even know them, so I only care about what I think and what people I admire think.
We could set it free, you and me.
We had proved what we set out to prove, which is there was life after the Beatles. Quite amazing to be able to put the whole thing together a second time around and succeed was virtually impossible, but we did it. And then I think the hunger just subsided. We just thought, well, we've done it now, you know. Go around the world 10 more times and get more Wings hits. It's good to just settle down for a little while, bring your kids up. Round about those times, people were saying, you know, the family unit is breaking up. But we didn't fancy that. We liked the idea of having a close family.
What would you say was her biggest effect on you, sort of?
Biggest effect on me? She was very kind, so I think she sort of brought out kindness, my kindness in me. I think I gave her some things that she'd been missing too, hopefully. wanted to achieve some kind of freedom and get away from what was expected of us and just do the kind of music that we wanted to make in the way that we wanted to make it and live life in the way that we wanted to live it.
Warmth and friendship, that's why I'm there, really. I'm not there because I'm the greatest keyboard player. I'm there because we love each other.
We didn't really have a very clear idea of exactly what we wanted to do. But one thing we did know was that the time had come for us to move on.